afternoon, everybody. Well, I'm actually going to talk about success in the arts. I know you're all engineers, but at the same time, I think arts has a different perspective. Just one second, I'm just going to... Okay, art gives a different perspective to many things, including, I think there are a lot of topics that people that covered before this. Culture, inclusiveness of culture, as well as the importance of culture, as well as the art in influencing the public, as well as several other factors. The first thing I'll talk about is what is success, or various perceptions of success, what we deem as success as an individual, as well as what is projected on us by society, by family, by things. What do we think is success? One is how we have a family. I mean, in Indian society, based on how we have a family, as well as our career, as well as our lifestyle, connotes success, or what we think of as being successful. From society, largely, fame, wealth, and positive public opinion is what connotes success. But that necessarily need not mean success to us on an individual level. From a public opinion, that is what says you're successful. When you say someone is successful, either they're famous, or they have a lot of money, or they have positive public opinion. You agree? Yes, no, maybe? So the next thing, I would say, like in the arts, you can categorize them into two broad spectrums. One is the film and largely communicative media, and the other is stage and theater. In India, the film, there's a big spasm in terms of a gap between the advancement of how both are projected or how they reached out. In the film and communicative media, we have a lot of progress. We know how many industries we have. We have the Tamil, Telugu, of course, Hindi, Malayalam, and we have tremendous number of film industries, and a lot of movies are made. But on the same level, the stage or the theatrical industry is largely lacking in comparison to our Western projection of the arts. Ironically, India is one of the oldest cultural countries. Our dance form, like our roots of Indian classical dance, you can date back to over 3,000 years old. This is something that obviously the British, again, dated much later. But it's true that classical Indian dance has its roots and documented, like our Natya Shastra is like big. And it's over 3,000 years old. It goes far back to BC. But somehow when it comes to this generation, we survive only as a solo individual theatrical performing artist. Most of the virtuosos are single people. There's Pandit Ravi Shankar, you hear of Zakir Hussain, Malavika Sarukai, all of them are solo performing artists. As a group and a corporation, as stage performing artists, we have nothing to show, okay? In the arts, there are many job opportunities that are actually overlooked. People don't even consider it. Like in stage, there are many accompanists in terms of musicians, light design. As engineers, people don't consider I can do lighting design or stage design, which is actually a very big part of stage or effective production value in the Western, Broadway, or even in the UK or in Europe. It's a very big consideration of a job opportunity. People actually consider it as something they can do. But in film, in technical work, we're quite advanced. With technical work, music, background score, camera, script, all that is very advanced in India. And we're taking it to many international levels, but ironically, the stage is not as advanced. And I face those problems on stage all the time. I wonder who's going to take care of my props. Is there someone who knows the timing? Is there someone who's going to help with the change or the lights or something? There's always a lack or a dearth of good stage and backstage work, and you cannot undermine the efficiency of a production that it depends on all these people and all these other factors that come into being, but these are not professions that are even considered largely. Many people choose art as a career for two reasons. One is passion for the art itself. Two is for fame. It makes me smile because largely many people who get into the media or film industry don't actually even have training or passion for the art. They largely go into it to be seen or to be viewed by public or to get exposure. I want to be famous is a reason. But when you go from that, that sort of reflects on the Indian film industry as well in terms of how actors are viewed. You're selling a person or a, okay, that's a later slide, but I'm going into it now. You're selling a person or you're not selling the character. Like if you see Pirates of the Caribbean, Edward Scissorhands, you don't see Johnny Depp in that. You see the character that he played. You don't remember the actor, you remember the character. But here, largely in our Bollywood industry, we remember the actor. The actor is sold. In some ways, that is actually beneficial because the actor has a lot of moral responsibility towards the public as well. But in other ways, in terms of an artistic perspective, it gives a very different idea of how movies are produced. They are produced as for an actor, and it's very different. You cannot compare it. Are you following what I'm saying? See, like when you see Rajnikant, we all remember Rajnikant. We don't remember the different roles he played. But he is an icon. He's a great person because he actually has created himself, you know? And that's a great thing. That's something that the Indian film industry offers to actors and to people that come up into that industry. And obviously you have a wider influence or artistic sphere of reaching out to public. That is something that we can actually take advantage of in the Indian film industry. Many people think of it as a lack of acting, but in some ways it's a different way of projecting yourself. Same with Amitabh Bachchan. You see him in all of them. He has a certain personality trait. Shah Rukh Khan, all of them do, you know, and that is actually unique and important in our industry, in our Indian film industry. Okay, there's several factors that contribute to success in the arts. One is the inside factor, like which comes from you, your talent, dedication, hard work. Attitude is a big part, dynamism and perseverance. Perseverance especially for stage. Ambient support factors, family, availability for teachers, and exposure to art. When I say ambient support factors over here, especially with stage and performing arts, everybody is aware of film, so I'm going to talk more about stage now, okay? So when you say availability of teachers, the classical Indian arts are all imparted through a guru-shishya parampara. We don't have a proper institution which is large, save for Kalakshetra. But Kalakshetra also, the entrance start at the beginning. They don't come in at MA level. And we don't have any single institute in the entire country that is dedicated to the arts, completely to the arts. We have engineers, we have IIT, we have splendid mind thinkers, scientific engineers, and I don't think any country can compete with India on the math and science level. But in the cultural level, though we are so strong and everybody comes to India for culture, for artistic empowerment and education, we don't have a single institute that actually contributes to that. Fortunately, that perspective is changing, and I think it came down in like the 16th, 17th century during invasions. All the patronage came down, but that's a totally different story. I'm not going to go into that now. But post-invasion, post-leaving British, India has sort of revived that and come back in, but at the same time, we don't have any cultural institute. So finding the right teacher or the right guru or the right person to impart this knowledge of classical arts is very, very important. Because there are a lot of people that you may learn, but you may not actually learn the right information. So that's very important. Outside factors, luck, media coverage, social charisma is a big factor in actually making it, whether on stage or in film or in media or in anything else. Stage and film, there's also largely a dearth of anything else. Stage and film, there's also largely a dearth of training and talent-oriented casting, as well as talent-oriented choosing of people or dancers to be on stage. I see this largely in the younger dancers, as well as in, see, like, suppose you're on Broadway or in New York, you go for an audition, they don't care where you're from or who you are. You dance well, you act well, you're on stage. That's basically it. Here, it doesn't mean the same thing. You can dance well, you can act well, but it depends on who you know as well. Depends on who you know, how much you're seen, how much you are in the media as well. So even if you dance and act really well, you may not be on stage ever. You know, so that is something that we must try to provide an opportunity for, even from the college level, or even from a smaller level, as scientific leaders or entrepreneurs from the management side, because the classical arts, our culture lays in the classical arts. And only through support of that can we actually engender a nation to power, you know? And in the olden times, the kings and the dynasties recognized the power of the artists. And they were entirely funded by the governing government, which is the kings. And now, we don't have the same kind of support. We don't have the same kind of support for stage artists especially, you know, so because it's not a money-oriented or a financial-oriented art form, people don't choose it because it doesn't make you a lot of money all the time. The other thing is that in monetary stability in terms of being an artist or being a dancer, only the cream of the crop actually are seen, actually are able to survive on their performance. Only Zakir Hussain or Pandit Ravi Shankar or Malvika Sarukar or any of them are the only ones that can live off their dancing itself. Anybody in the second rung or third rung automatically is not able to sustain themselves from performance or from stage. So automatically we all tend to choose engineering. So even if they're a good engineer and they're apprenticing, we can still support a family, right? So family support, social support, as well as an openness of mind to the arts and acknowledging its importance in our cultural standing is very important for us. Last one, performing arts is like, you have ambiguity of future, obviously. See, I got into Carnegie Mellon for computer science and architecture. I was a nerd in high school. I got into Boston Conservatory for dance. I actually got into Carnegie Mellon. I deferred my admission 3 times. The third time I deferred, I said I have to apply to dance school. If I don't apply, I'm an idiot. So I deferred. I danced for a year. I deferred again. I danced another year. I deferred again. The third time I said, okay, I have to apply to dance school. That's when I applied to Boston Conservatory. And I said, if I don't get in, then God is telling me, don't be a dancer, just go be an engineer or an architect. But I got in. The thing is, the scariest part of it is you don't know what you're doing tomorrow. You don't know what you're doing next month. Next month may be great. Next year may be great, but you have no idea. You can work really, really hard, and you can have all the talent and all the support, but you have no idea where you're traveling to or what you're doing. And that's, in one way, it's the beauty of being in the performing arts, but at the same time, it's also the excitement, and you cannot survive as an artist or a dancer without passion and without love for the arts. Some days you don't feel like getting up. You have to get up in the morning every day. You have to do I get up every morning. I have to do my yoga, I have to do my Pilates, I have to do my ballet bar because I'm also a modern dancer. I have to do my Bharatanatyam practice, and some days you're tired, but you still have to get up, you still have to do it. And everybody who is not in the arts somehow has critique for an artist. And that is something you always have to learn to take. It's the same in any profession, I'm sure. And this is something you'll come forth with, and you'll face. Because everybody will always tell you at some point that what you're doing is not enough or it doesn't match up. But you have to be able to take that critique and use it to become better. Not take that critique and make it a blanket or a stamp on what you're doing. But that is what you use. And as an artist, one moment. As an artist, there's some things that you have to use in terms of persistence, and self-motivation is a big part of being an artist. And using things that you may not normally use. Like, artists are normally, what do you say, many of them are very close. They're very close. They don't actually speak like this. I'm one of the few, I guess, that speaks. But many of them are very close. They don't like to speak. So they actually have other people that speak for them. That's why they have artist managers, or they have other people that can actually come up and speak. But from a managerial or scientific perspective, it's always the lateral thinkers. Like, we like to notice shapes on the carpet, you know, or like the way the light falls, or how, I don't know, the crack that's coming through there, or the tube light. They're just different things that's around you in nature, or where the other side of the brain is thinking, that may help you look at things from a different perspective. And that is what art does to all of us, whether we're engineers or doctors or MBA students or whatever we are. A little bit of art in your life, you don't have to dance for a profession, you don't have to sing as a profession, you don't have to perform. But a little bit of art opens up your mind, and it helps you become a better you. And it helps you see things in a different way, and it helps you sort of just relax and be calm and be sane. And at the same time, it also helps you, keep your culture together. Yes, I am also young, and I am the jeans pant wearing tradition, but at the same time, my respect for Indian tradition and culture is sublime, because in terms of classical Indian dance, I never mix the two. I never mix classical Indian dance and my modern dance. My modern dance is separate. A lot of people think that I use ballet in my Bharatanatyam, but I never do. The Bharatanatyam I do is inspired by the Karanas, which is actually Padma Subramaniam's training. And the Bharatanatyam I do may be athletic, and it's very energetic, but at the same time, adhering to tradition and innovating within your cultural context is a very important thing. We may have Western influences with Bollywood and this thing and everything, but retaining our Indian culture, our Indian tradition, and our Indian values, and projecting it to the world in the most, coherent and strong fashion is important to us. So have a little bit of art in your life.